Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy. Simply download NTA News app from your Google Play Store and you're good to go. NTA News mobile app, your access to real-time information.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you. In your living room, office, and everywhere, anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview channel 264, or live streaming via www.visiontv.co.uk. Application for iOS or Android. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
Anybody who is exposed can contract coronavirus, but not everybody has a fair chance of surviving the disease. Data has shown that older persons stand a higher risk of dying. Are you 55 years and above? Do you have pre-existing health conditions? Please safeguard yourself and minimize your risk. Observe all COVID-19 protocols.
If you hear of anyone with high fever, dry cough, and difficulty in breathing, please do not go near such a person because they could be a victim of coronavirus infection. Call someone else or the NCDC to assist. Please use your prescribed medications regularly. Exercise around your home and eat well so that you can remain healthy and strong. For an older adult, to beat coronavirus is not to contract it at all.
This message is brought to you by Gerontology Association of Nigeria, the Geriatrics Association of Nigeria, and Dave Makaro Foundation in conjunction with the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
We are handing over to the people of Niger Delta a befitting head office complex for present and future use.
President Buhari inaugurates Niger Delta Development Commission headquarters building in Port Harcourt.
Federal government declares that it will not engage mercenaries in the fight against insecurity in the country.
These are people who are just out to take measures, calculated measures to inflict pain, violence on people, and we must deal with them the way they have to be dealt with.
Phase 2 of digital switchover to begin April 29th.
Also to start the analog switch-off is a clear testimony to our commitment to complete the DSO process as soon as possible.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss Eastern Rail Corridor, Port Harcourt to Maiduguri.
The transportation sector is receiving tremendous transformation under President Buhari's administration. Now, priority has also been given to this sector, especially in the rail transport aspect. So many contracts have been signed and awarded. Can mention quite a number of them. The 200 kilometers standard gauge railway, which links Abuja, of course, with the existing line to Warri and Itakpe. The project also has a 50-kilometer branch to Lokoja and an extension from the existing terminals at Warri to the port.
And if you can remember, Claire, on Tuesday, the 9th of February this year, there was the groundbreaking of Kano-Katsina-Jebia Maradi Railway Project. And now the latest earth-shaking project is the rehabilitation and construction of the Eastern Rail Corridor, Port Harcourt to Maiduguri.
Indeed, Kieran, of course, the Eastern Rail Corridor is one of the transport infrastructure established in the pre-independence period, that's the colonial time, and it played quite significant role in the development of agriculture and industrial sectors at the time. And up till post-independence years, till about 1985, when it became moribund, and there are many factors to that, but generally neglect and, of course, a diverse investment which suffered a great loss by the Nigerian Railway Corporation.
And within that period, really, the Nigerian Railway Corporation went down, and never returned until this administration.
Some of us didn't have the experience of
joining
rail transport.
Exactly. I had an experience just once, in my lifetime before it went down.
You won't believe it. My first experience was the Abuja Kaduna.
No.
And it was a very pleasant
Exactly. Now, the Eastern Rail Corridor project is now part of the comprehensive plan for the revitalization, rehabilitation, and expansion of the Nigerian railway network to link up the commercial hubs of the Eastern Corridor so as they meet the overall transport infrastructure needs of the country. But Claire, I didn't hear about Enugu in this Eastern Corridor. Maybe when the guests come, link Enugu, because Enugu used to be...
It will pass, Enugu down to Maiduguri, but of course it has a branch of Oka and Abakaliki. Yes,
exactly. So that's why I said Enugu is missing.
No, it's not missing. I'm sure we'll have a guest to explain that.
Exactly.
But of course, talking about the latest effort by the federal government to rehabilitating the Eastern Rail Line, this is generating so much excitement. I'm sure you see from the expression of Kieran here and other Nigerians, who live within that axis. But this is because previous attempts to rehabilitate that rail corridor did not achieve the desired outcome. And there are so many reasons, again, inadequate funding, incompetence of some of the contractors handling the project at the time. Kieran.
Yeah, when completed, the trains on the Port Harcourt to Maiduguri Eastern Narrow Gauge Railway will run at 60 to 80 kilometers per hour and 80 to 100 kilometers per hour for freight and passengers, respectively.
Okay, so now that the project has taken off with the groundbreaking ceremony performed virtually by Mr. President, expectations are very high on the quantum of economic benefits that will accrue from this project. Now, one major question, to ask will be, how will the project be financed? We shall be having experts, and of course one of them will be the Minister of Transportation, joining us to discuss more and of course give us more insight and information on the magnitude, implications and anticipated gains coming from the Eastern Rail Corridor running from Port Harcourt and terminating in Maiduguri. This is our thrust today on Good Morning Nigeria. I am Claire Adelabu Abdurrazak. Happy
And
to be back.
and I'm Kieran Umar. I also welcome you to the program broadcast live on the network service of the NTA. As usual, we have the complementary segments, including the newspaper review, business news, and others. Let's now join Dennis Adegloye for the morning news. Hello, Dennis.
Good morning, Kieran, and good morning, Claire. Welcome back. Good morning, Nigeria. The office complex of the Niger Delta Development Commission, completed at 16 billion naira, has been formally inaugurated. President Muhammadu Buhari, who performed the ceremony virtually, described it as an important milestone in his administration's efforts at repositioning the Commission for sustainable development of the Niger Delta region.
Today, we are handing over to the people of Niger Delta a befitting head office complex for present and future use. Consequently, huge yearly rentals would now be saved and deployed to other areas of needs in the region. I am particularly pleased to note the cordial relationship between the NDDC and the National Assembly, and hope that this relationship will be strengthened further for the benefit of the people of the Niger Delta region.
President Muhammadu Buhari has re-emphasized his marching orders to security chiefs to go harder at criminal elements undermining national security and stability, insisting that anyone found illegally with an AK-47 be shot on sight. This was at a meeting with the National Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria at the State House, co-chaired by the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Sa'ad Abubakar III, and the Oni of Ife, Oba Adeye Enitan Ogunwusi.
Those who are conducting the abduction, the killing and so on, don't seem to be short of arms and ammunition. We had 4 hours meeting of the Security Council. We gave clear instructions. Anybody with AK-47 should be shot, because AK-47 is supposed to be registered and is only given to security officials. We have a problem, but I assure you we are doing our best. Our best hasn't proved to be good enough, but we are getting desperate. And we have given the orders to the military especially to be very hard on the criminals.
And the federal government has formally declared that it will not engage mercenaries in its fight against insurgents and other forms of insecurity in the country. National Security Advisor Baba Gana Mongonu stated this at the 3rd edition of the State House media briefing organized by the Presidential Communications Team, focusing on the security sector.
Logically, it's not even good for us. It paints the picture of weakness. It paints the picture of incapacity. And I do not see any reason why we cannot, with what we have, deal with these elements. These are not people who are looking for anything that is genuine, kosher, legitimate. These are people who are just out to take measures, calculated measures to inflict pain, violence on people. And we must deal with them the way they have to be dealt with. I want to assure you, categorically and unequivocally, the government is going to apply its full weight to deal with these criminals until such a time that they vacate the shores of this country. This is President Muhammadu Buhari's thinking. This is his trajectory. And this is what we are going to do.
Now, April 29th has been set for the commencement of Phase 2 of the digital switchover from analog to digital broadcasting in the country. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed announced the date at a media briefing in Abuja.
This is to accentuate our eagerness to take the DSO to as many Nigerians as possible, as well as to ensure its viability as we have now decided that the process will be commercially driven. Our decision to also kickstart the analog switch-off is a clear testimony to our commitment to complete the DSO process as soon as possible. In this regard, the Advising Practitioners Council of Nigeria, APCON, has been directed to implement key policies to guarantee the advertising income of media houses by creating a healthy environment for the media outfits to operate. Very soon, APCON and the National Broadcasting Commission will sign an MOU on zero advertising debts to ensure that revenue from advertisers goes to the media owners.
287 new cases of COVID-19 have been confirmed in Nigeria in the last 24 hours. In the figures released by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the new infections are from 17 states and the FCT, with Lagos State recording the highest number with 180. State-by-state figures show that Kwara is second with 26 new cases, followed by Akwa Ibom recording 23, Bauchi 22, Ogun 21, Rivers 19, Kaduna 14, the FCT 11, while Abia and Edo record 8 each. Others with new infections are Ekiti with 6 new cases, Kano 5, Gombe and Osun 4 each, Oyo and Plateau 3 each, Nasarawa 2, and Delta records a single case. Nigeria now has 159,933 confirmed cases of COVID-19, out of which 142,404 have been treated and discharged. 2,001 people have now died of the virus. And that concludes the morning news. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kieran and Claire after this break. Good morning.
I bring you wonderful news. The village headmaster is coming back to your screen. Mo wire abi mi o wire. Teacher no mo, a fẹ́ lọ wá nǹkan jẹ. Teacher no mo, a fẹ́ lọ wá nǹkan jẹ. Ọmọ onírẹsì ti dé.
Ajebo na better school for Las Gidi. Not be all this on a rugged school for Ijabi. I don't know for you.
Second, it's called Oja Village. Kadesi, we no happy at all.
And I know that even you too, you are getting a lot of orders too. Hey, we are trying, shao. Sweep her leg out. She was standing there. Sweep it.
I love you so much.
And how did I give you the impression that I was interested in that position?
50-year anniversary.
You mean anniversary?
I mean, that's why I talk with that now. Not for me. Not for me because of Pamio.
In my house, we may look alike, but we are very different individuals. My adorable twins, they look so alike, but they don't like wearing the same things. And my little man, he loves to learn his own way because doing things his way is more fulfilling. Everybody believes their way is best. That's why Golden Penny Pasta is our favorite meal. It allows me to satisfy everybody just the way they want it.
Golden Penny Pasta, made with durum wheat, is tasty, nutritious, a source of protein and fiber. Golden Penny Pasta, your way is best.
My culture preaches peace. My culture preaches peace. My culture preaches peace. 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 My culture preaches peace.
Even our religion
Preaches peace.
if our culture preaches peace, remember your culture. Use your voter's card. Vote peacefully
And wisely, we are one.
This message is from the National Council for Arts and Culture.
Chelsea look to continue their amazing run of 12 games unbeaten when they travel to Ellen Road. Will they succeed or will the streak come to an end? Find out as Leeds United welcome Chelsea this Saturday on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 1 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Axis Bank, Papai Jebu, Lipton, and Close Up in association with Gold.com.
This is Good Morning Nigeria, and it's time for us to go business. Nigeria to rank among first 100 countries in the ease of doing business by 2023. Chimobi Walter Naji has more on business news.
Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment Adeniyi Adebayo has assured that by 2023, Nigeria will be ranked among the first 100 countries of the world in the area of ease of doing business. He made this assertion while delivering a keynote address at the virtual Nigeria-Britain Trade and Investment Expo with the theme, Unlocking the Future of Anglo-Nigerian Trade. The minister noted that there is a correlation between ease of doing business and economic prosperity of the country. He said the consistent efforts of the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PBEC, in collaborating with the relevant private and public sector institutions has resulted in the steady improvement in Nigeria's position in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business ranking, moving from 170 to 131 place in World Bank's Ease of Doing Business ranking in 2020. Speaking on efforts to attract investors to the country, he disclosed that Nigeria has revised its bilateral investment treaty model with the provision for investment facilitation inserted to institutionalize the principle of supporting investors to actualize their investments. Meanwhile, equities market closed Thursday on a negative note as the NSE All-Share Index depreciated by 0.60% to close at 38,697.17 basis points as against 0.63% appreciation recorded previously. Its year-to-date returns currently stands at minus 3.91%. Here is a graphic representation of trading figures on the floor of the exchange. With business news, I'm Chimobi Walter Naji.
Many thanks, Chimobi, for the package. Up next is newspaper review.
All right, it's time for newspaper review. Well, we're still expecting to have Bayo Tebi here with us in the studio. Well, presently, Claire and I will do justice to the analysis for this morning. And let's begin with the Punch newspaper. Above the name flag of the Punch newspaper this morning, Nigeria's rising debt servicing and economic threat. That's according to SEC. That's on page 19. Malami Bawa summoned over forfeited assets transferred to AGF office. It's on page 9. Reps canvass higher allocation, say National Assembly is broke. All right, that's on page 13. You get details of that. The major story this morning, the Punch newspaper, vaccine side effect fear, that's the kicker, So vaccination continues, says federal government. 8 countries suspend rollout. It has 2 riders to that. We haven't seen unusual reactions after administering AstraZeneca vaccine, that's according to the Nigerian government. Then patients' safety are highest priority. United Kingdom manufacturers insists. That's the manufacturers of AstraZeneca vaccine, insisting that the patient safety is their highest priority. All right, now the football story here, of course, is that of traditional leaders who actually met on issue of cracking down on the bandits we have in the country. All right, now federal government rules out talks with bandits, opts for crackdown. Assembly summons Niger commissioners for spending 2 billion naira without approval. That's on page 11. 36 states, FCT shun 41 billion naira UBEC funds. It's on page 26. And federal government begins selection of 500,000 N-Power beneficiaries. Details on page 20. Presidency officials allege Zamfara attempted to subvert no-fly zone order. That's on page 8. Gunmen defy Benue curfew, kill policeman, raise houses. That's on page 7. Man remanded for scamming U.S. state of $8,000 COVID-19 fund. That's on page 4. Claire.
All right, Kiran, thank you. I have the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, and the lead story, it's on security, and it says, Borno elders, experts to FG, hire mercenaries to end Boko Haram. It comes with 3 riders will be harder on criminals. That's coming from the president. Negotiation, sign of weakness, Mongono, and NSA speaks our minds. That's officers. Let me just take you a bit below the nameplate. That's above the headline. Trending stories on education. Despite poor state of schools, Kiran, you read this earlier on, 41 billion naira UBEC fund unaccessed, and the story is on page 4. Just like to let you know, this is not a very good news. And according to this story, the 2017 implementation year, 4 states, this paper says 32 states, including the FCT, accessed their own funds, including their own marching grants. 4 states, Anambra, Imo, Kaduna, and Kwara, did not access their fund. 2018, we had 6 states not accessing their own marching fund, including Anambra, Imo again, Kaduna, Kwara, Ogun, Plateau. These are states that have not yet access their own UBEC funds, and this is not it's not funny at all.
It's worrisome, really, because yes. That's the foundation level of education that should not be toyed with, right? Mm-hmm. Because the reason for creation of UBEC is to ensure that foundational level, that we should not have any difficulty in ensuring that our children have a good foundation in education. So if you can't access UBEC fund, it means that the state is lacking, in understanding the reason for UBEC being established as a commission.
And what baffles me is that the funds are there. The funds are right there for you. The only condition is that you also bring your matching grants.
Exactly.
So is it that states do not have the capacity, to bring up their own matching grants to access these funds, and yet our states' schools are in a state of disrepair.
Exactly.
You see children learning under trees, under untold conditions.
Yes.
It's pathetic. I really don't know what the problem is.
The kidnapping of school children, also expose, some of the schools that we have in different parts of the country, how dilapidated these schools are. And again, there are boarding schools where these children are living, right? And the condition is not really appreciable, and for you to learn under such condition, I wonder the kind of education you're going to get if you're learning under such conditions.
Okay, the other story you also talked about is about COVID-19 effect, vaccine effect. The story on the Daily Trust reads, federal government confirms mild side effects of COVID-19 vaccine. Was that what you read?
Actually, what the government said is they said that we haven't seen unusual reactions after administering AstraZeneca vaccine. That's what the government said.
You know the story trending. I don't know if Kiran you saw it. Some countries like Denmark,
Australia as well.
Yes, have suspended
the use of AstraZeneca.
Yes,
exactly. In Australia, one nurse died after
but they said, but it's still under investigation anyway. It's still under investigation. Okay, there are also other stories. Just before we take the editorial, bandits kill 7, set houses ablaze in Kaduna. That story is on page 6. And of course, we see the traditional rulers there. The Sultan of Sokoto, Emir of Kano, Emir of Kazare, and Oba Oni of Ife, all of course, and of course the Obi of Onisha, during the National Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria meeting at the presidential villa yesterday. Now, trending at the bottom of the paper there, Navy begins trial of officers, civilians involved in oil theft. It's on page 34. NLC set to resume Lagos-Kano train service. Page 6, very interesting. NLC set to resume Lagos-Kano train service. Page 6. Yep. Kano councillor appoints 18 aides.
Let's talk about this one. Federal government rules out talks with bandits, opts for crackdown. You see, many Nigerians have been expecting this for a very long time. Right, because the issue of having talks with bandits, it's like you are negotiating from the point of weakness as a nation, and it behoves on the authority to actually understand the fact that by the time you negotiate with criminals, you are emboldening them, you are making them feel like, look, we are a force to reckon with, and that's what they want, and that's why they go to soft targets to begin to Just yesterday, we had that in Benin, somewhere in Benin. Some students have also been targeted as of yesterday, and over 20 of them have been abducted. Now it is going down to the southern part of the country. So the bandits already know that if government is talking about negotiation, of course that means that they are doing good business.
Well, Kiran, we'll just leave it at that and hope that the right things will be done. Let's take a short break now. When we come back, we'll begin our conversation.
Fathers. I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Edition of TV Guide is out with special focus on the game changer, His Excellency Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State. Broadcasting in the digital economy, Maxwell Logo gives an insight. This edition also features Nancy Naji of AIT, a name synonymous with business. Meet the NCDC boss, Dr. Chikwe Ihekweazu. TV Guide, your indispensable companion, also x-rays the relevance of social media in the modern society. Meet some TV professionals who have impacted their spaces and other inspiring stories in sports, entertainment, and lots more. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or NTA stations nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency.
Chelsea look to continue their amazing run of 12 games unbeaten when they travel to Ellen Road. Will they succeed or will the streak come to an end? Find out as Leeds United welcome Chelsea this Saturday on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 1 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Axis Bank, Bye Jebu, Lipton, and Close Up in association with Gold.com.
All right, and we begin our conversation in a very short while. But before then, let's get this background report put together by Adamu Sambo.
The reconstruction of the Port Harcourt to Maiduguri narrow gauge railway project with new branch lines to Owerri, Imo State and Damaturu, Yobe State is aimed at resuscitating the once vibrant railway transportation in the eastern corridor of the country. The Boni Deep Sea Port and Railway Industrial Park, Port Harcourt, on the other hand, will not only serve transportation and supply chain networks for domestic needs and export, but also support imports into the hinterland of the country through the Boni Island. The projects, President Muhammadu Buhari said, will enhance significantly the country's aspiration for nationwide transport infrastructure, especially the railways.
The Port Harcourt Maiduguri Railway will translate to reactivation of economic activities along the Eastern Corridor, which has been greatly affected by insurgent activities, and serve as a stimulus for industry and trade. The connection of the railway to a new seaport in Boni Island and Railway Industrial Park, Port Harcourt, is designed to increase the viability and boost transshipment of cargo and freight locally across the West African sub-region and in the continental free trade area.
85% of the railway project is to be funded through a loan facility as well as 15% counterpart contribution by the federal government.
The sum of the social, economic, and environmental benefits of these projects includes creation of massive employment locally. In addition, there will be further utilization of local contents and technology transfer, increase in internally generated revenue, and will serve as fulcrum for the achievement of the federal government planned integrated development master plan.
Transportation Minister Rotimi Amechi said apart from the reconstruction of the narrow gauge railway project, approval has also been granted by President Muhammadu Buhari for the construction of 1,500 kilometers of standard gauge rail line for the Eastern Corridor.
That was our State House correspondent Adamu Sambo giving us background, of course, to the groundbreaking ceremony of the Eastern Rail Corridor on Tuesday. We have right here in the studio the Honorable Minister of Transportation, Right Honorable Chibike Rotimi Amechi with us. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for joining us this morning. We also have right here Dr. Ken Ukoha. Dr. Ukoha is the President, National Association of Nigerian Traders. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, gentlemen, you're welcome. Honorable Minister, congratulations. On this particular project, there is a bold step, being taken by the federal government to ensure that rail lines will connect all parts of the country. But for now, let's get more insight into this particular project that has just been commissioned. We need to know more about the financing and, of course, areas of coverage.
The Eastern Rail Line will start from Bonny because we intend to build a deep sea port in Bonny. And the deep sea port is being built on PPP arrangement. It will be funded by CCCC, while the federal government will fund the rail line. It starts from Bonny to Port Harcourt. From Port Harcourt, it goes all the way to Maiduguri. But there are about 2 or 3 branch lines, actually. There's a branch line to Owerri, passing through the industrial park to Owerri. There's a branch line, well, I've mentioned the branch line to Bonny. There's a branch line to Damaturu, which is also new, and the Damaturu line continues to Gashua. There's an interlink where there will be transshipment between Kafanchan and Kaduna. So that's where narrow gauge will meet the standard gauge, actually. So if somebody is importing through Port Harcourt and he lives on the western flank or does business on the western flank, then he could come up to Kaduna and link the eastern flank by going through Kafanchan to join the eastern flank. Just like we are trying to, what people have not talked about is that the president has also approved the PPP award of Abuja to Warri. So the one of the eastern flank, so it will go from Port Harcourt to Aba to Umahia to Enugu to Makurdi to Lafia to Jos to Bauchi to Gombe to Maiduguri. But then we've mentioned to you there are flanks, there are spurs. The first spur goes to Yobe, Damaturu. The second spur that goes to Owerri. I think after that approval was given, the governor of Ebonyi protested and wrote to the president that we are leaving out Abakaliki. I don't know if the Anambra State governor also protested, but then the president sent for advice. Our position will be the standard gauge, which is more expensive, covers all those areas, but I don't know when we will construct them. I doubt if this government will construct standard gauge because we won't have the money. It's quite huge. So the best thing would be, if I were to advise the president, that we should extend 2 new spurs. One to Abakaliki and the other to Oka, so that you've covered the entire eastern Nigeria, southeast Nigeria. I think that will give you a total of about 1,500 to 1,600 kilometers of rail line.
So, as it is presently...
we talked about the financing. I forgot to answer.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I forgot to answer about the financing. We are going to go by loan, but government is also going to pay from its own budget. Like for now, we've given them up to $10 million. I'm sure by the end of this week, we'll give another $10 million. That means that we've paid out of the $3.020 billion would have paid out the $20 million. So we know we're battling with $3 billion. But I think by this week, so they can start work.
So as it is presently, the standard gauge will not be implemented presently because of, as you just mentioned, that this government may not have the capacity in terms of funding to embark on the standard gauge for the Eastern Corridor.
I have 2 arguments to make. First is it's between $11 to $14 billion to do the standard gauge and the eastern flank, right? The standard gauge as designed in Nigeria is 150 kilometers design speed. Operational speed, 120 kilometers. What's the difference between 120 and 100 kilometers? The narrow gauge at $3 billion is 100 kilometers per hour. The standard gauge at 11 to 14 billion dollars is 120 kilometers per hour. So if you take off in the standard with the standard gauge, so you arrive in Enugu before me, you may arrive in Enugu 20 minutes more than I will arrive, but I will still get to Enugu. My goods will still come at a record time. So why do we spend 11 billion? Ordinarily, if you ask me, just that the president is forever believes in new technology, so he insists on standard gauge. In fact, the reason why, one of the reasons why we didn't get an early approval on this narrow gauge thing was that the president was insisting that we must do the standard gauge from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. But my fear, not the president's fear, is that the market is saturated. The loan market is saturated. That it gets a stage that people will say, we won't give people money anymore. So if I can achieve the same length of rail for $3 to $4 billion, why not take that first until when you get money, then you can go to the new technology? And the president bought into that argument and approved the narrow gauge. He also approved the standard gauge as designed. We should go ahead, but until we get the loan. But if I tell you that we're active in the loan market for $11 to $14 billion, we are not yet. We are active in the loan market for $3.020 billion.
How do you mean that the funding market is saturated?
Don't forget that we're already asking for $5.3 billion for $0.1 billion for Lagos to Calabar. So it's the same market you're going to ask for money. You have to also look at what is feasible. And our responsibility is to advise the president and take responsibility for every action that comes as far as transportation is concerned. So I took out the easy way out. The easy way out is, look, I'm from Port Harcourt, so you can't say that, oh, I'm cheating the Igbos, I'm cheating the Hausa Fulanis or anybody who is on the eastern flank, because I am also affected. So if I take off from Port Harcourt and I want to visit my friend Memala in Damatru, the difference will just be 20 kilometers, or 20 minutes. And at a cheaper cost of 3 billion to that of 11 to 14 billion. You get my argument?
Exactly.
Because if we continue to wait for when we will get the 11 billion, we may possibly not be able to construct the eastern flank until we leave government. And you and I, our people in the southeast have been putting everybody under pressure. Oh, we hate them, we hate them. To show we don't hate them, let's just... Because railway has become political. But what we've done is to continue to convince the president that we can only construct those that make economic sense. For instance, the first one that makes economic sense is the Port Harcourt Lagos Kano, because it moves 30 million tons of cargo per year. So if we take out of 30 million tons of cargo, if railway can take out 20 million tons of cargo, or 25, then the rest 5 can go on the road. The next most viable one is the Port Harcourt Maiduguri, which moves about 11 million tons of cargo in a year when constructed. So we're not under pressure because people are shouting this way, political, this, you're depriving us, and all. No, we're not.
So let me ask you this, because in the Eastern Corridor we're talking about, we had rail lines are still there till date.
No, they've been stolen. What Eastern Corridor? But Port Harcourt, somebody was arrested, whether it's from Elime or so, was arrested for vandalizing. This our country baffles me. These are national assets, and people are going. I've told the MD of NRC, those who are buying by law are also liable. They're culpable. So make sure that, because the easiest way is not to even go after the vandals. Go after those who are purchasing the listing from them, because at that point they will stop. But they're vandalizing it all the way up to, because they had want to reconstruct.
Exactly. But in some parts of Enugu where I come from, I can see rail lines, But the point is that
you've not gone there recently. The Enugu people have taken it.
Minister, let me take you on 2 issues that you mentioned. That's specifically with the Eastern Rail Corridor.
This interview is very good because the 2 of you are from the Eastern Nigeria.
Well, I'm from Kwara State. I'm sure you know that.
Well, your husband is from Kwara State, so you're right when it comes to law. But in terms of biological.
Anyway, so you talked about, of course, having to choose between what makes economic sense, and you also talked about speed, and they talk about rail transport remodernization. Will it not be logical to go the whole hub, if we're modernizing our railway system, if we're going to remodernize the railway network, will it not be logical to go the whole hub and remodernize everything rather than go back to the old narrow gauge that we had?
You're lucky I forgot my phone. I'd have just gone into my phone to show you. That was the reply I wanted to have in Port Harcourt, but I said, look, just move on. You're above all these things. Call one nation that doesn't have a narrow gauge. Out of the 35,000 kilometers of railway in South Africa, only about 500 or so is standard gauge. The rest are narrow gauge. America, China, UK, Egypt. Call.
So what value does standard gauge?
No, first it brings is modern technology and speed. It's not that it carries more weight than the narrow gauge. It's just modern technology. Now, when you look at the decision of the Ministry of Transport, it's because of cost. If I can achieve this with a little difference of time, why not proceed? Then, but even at that, if we go by the modernization program in the ministry, as approved by President Obasanjo's government, because that was purely their policy, then it says rehabilitate the narrow gauge first. That's what he said. Then construct the standard gauge. So even if we go ahead to rehabilitate the narrow gauge in the eastern flank, then we are keeping to the modernization program of the Ministry of Transport as approved by President Obasanjo. There is nothing absolutely that we're doing outside the policy.
Okay, sorry, Kieran. Give us the construction plan, because we know that other rail networks are being constructed in phases. The Lagos Kano, we started from Lagos, Ibadan, and then we are taking up the Kano, to Niger. Even the Abuja Kaduna is another segment. So what's the construction plan for this one? Are we doing them in phases?
No more. The reason why you saw those phases earlier is because the lender, which is Chinese Exim Bank, was saying, no, we'll give you the first phase, which is Lagos Ibadan. Then we'll give you another phase, which is Kano Kaduna. But now they have agreed with us that should end, the segmentation should end. So they will give us $5.3 billion to construct from Ibadan straight to Kano. The loan we're asking for Kano Maradi, which we've gotten, is $1.95 billion. That money is there, and we'll construct straight to Maradi. It won't be from Katsina to Daura, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make economic sense. Now we are stuck because everybody who has goods that wants to go to Kano will stop at Ibadan and begin to look for motorable transportation to Kano. But you see, if they had given us all the money from the beginning, which was $8.something billion, by now would have been Kano. By now would have been Kano. So anybody who is moving his goods from Lagos will be heading straight to Kano and will arrive in 8 hours. So what we are doing now is the loan we are seeking for Port Harcourt Maiduguri is pure $3.020 billion that will take us straight to Maiduguri, and they'll be constructed in segments. It may be right to that extent. What I mean by constructed in segments, as they're working in Port Harcourt Aba segment, they are later working in Maiduguri to Damaturu segment, or Maiduguri to Damaturu segment, or Gombe to Bauchi at the same time. So that as you're finishing in Port Harcourt, you're finishing in Maiduguri, you're finishing at Gombe, you're finishing at Bauchi, because they must link each other to be able to facilitate trade.
It has a three-year completion period.
Yes, that's why I say they are working at the same time.
Okay, under COVID-19 pandemic, is that feasible?
Let me tell you how we started working.
Because it affected the Lagos Ibadan.
I know that, but don't forget that we backed out for a long time. But we got to a stage I called the contractors back, and I said to them, none of you here will give us one more year because of COVID pandemic. We'll be glad to have that one more year to enable us to finish our project. So we can't be at home because we're afraid of COVID pandemic and then not construct. So I told the contractors to go back to site. Everybody wear your mask, keep to the non-pharmaceutical rules of the NCDC, and then ensure everybody is working. Are they getting infected? Yes. At a stage, we got 60 persons infected. We scaled down. Now we have scaled back up.
All right.
And nobody died. That's the most important thing. They all felt they are lucky they are young men and women.
Now, let's bring in Dr. Ken Ukoha here, President of the National Association of Nigerian Traders. You've listened to the Honorable Minister of Transportation reel out all the plans, all the issues concerning funding and what have you, and of course the entire coverage area of this rail project embarked upon by this administration since 2015. What is your impression?
I want to start by saying that if there's any thing that has been done to ensure development in terms of infrastructure. I think the rail sector has made Nigerians proud. And I think for us as business people, some people may not understand now, but I think much later we would know the impact of this administration in terms of rail. And of course, when the Honourable Minister was talking about Port Harcourt, Maiduguri, and 11 million tons of goods. Of course, if our own calculation looks about 17 million tons, because you are also looking at the track from Calabar. And Honourable Minister, I also wanted to talk about the Lagos-Calabar and see where it links the Port Harcourt axis. Very important. A few days back, permit me to say this, just about 3 days ago, we had a meeting at ECOWAS level and concerning the Gulf of Guinea and the trade there. And then looking at the future of the AFCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade, and noting also that the axis, the Calabar axis, for instance, has all the coastal, semi-coastal, states like Adamawa that you mentioned from Maiduguri, Borno, Adamawa, Taraba, and then Cross River, and part of Benue also. And if you look along that line, where the Port Harcourt Maiduguri rail, the rail is, targeted, you'll also see that the volume of goods that will be coming from the hinterlands will also increase that tonnage. Now, and increasing it also demands, triggers productivity on the part of the people. Now, let me also come from the side of Enugu, Newi, Onitsha, Ariaria. Now, the reason why I mentioned these areas is because of the volume of production that comes from these axes. Ariaria happens to be the largest, one of the largest markets in West Africa. Onitsha is the largest in the whole of West Africa, the largest market existing in West Africa today. And the volume of goods that come up from that end is so high, so high. We discussed yesterday on shoe sector alone, one sector, shoe and leather. The volume of leather products that move from Maiduguri and Kano outside the country would have been feeding shoemakers in Arara, in Aba. But because of transportation also, we have crisis. Aba people will have to go outside, go to Brazil, as far as Brazil, to import leather. Go to Italy to import leather at very high price. Because all of these things are moved out and then, at the end of the day, with very cheap price. And then after tanning and all of that polishing, they still bring it back and we buy.
How does it impact on the rail?
Now, how it impacts there is because once this rail is on, the man who is producing leather, raw leather in Kano and in Maiduguri, Sokoto, they all link, and then you have people who would have, even middlemen, who would move this leather, and it becomes their business to move them to Aba very easily. Very, very easily. And then you see increased productivity. Nigeria, for instance, produces only 10%, in fact, 9.8% of all the shoes that we wear in this country. We only produce 9.8%. So the whole of 80 points, 89% or so is imported. So that tracks in a kind of volume of production there. But looking also at the axis of Calabar, Tinapa has been moribund for a long time. And I see this rail infrastructure waking up that moribund Tinapa. if we have the Lagos-Calabar rail up. I see that you have the Tinapa, which was designed as the Dubai of Africa, the only free trade zone that we have in this country. Others are manufacturing. All the other free trade zones are manufacturing in this country. The only one that you have that is a free trade zone is Tinapa in this country. And it's moribund for several years. So what this rail would do, if it gets to Calabar and links up to Port Harcourt and then moves down to the coast, is to service the entire Gulf of Guinea trade. And you see the volume of trade that comes in around that end, most times are not captured. And it will trigger production. And the way it has been linked that, you come into Owerri, you come in, you have, stations, linkages to Aba, Owerri, and then I was listening to see if Newi is also linked up. And by the time you have all of these branches coming up, you are triggering a lot.
Are you responding to the minister's remarks on the economic viability of that relaxation?
The serious, very serious, and of course that's the key point that we have to look at. The economic viability, the import of that is that, look, you are triggering a lot of production, you are triggering a lot of employment generation, and then all this youth unrest and all of that, insecurity will also reduce because people will be found doing something. They'll be found working. And, and I don't mind it's a devil's workshop. By the time they all get engaged, you would discover that people also, the insecurity will also reduce along that axis.
I was hoping that you would also speak to the other aspects, of course, that will make this real system, viable, economically viable. We know that the minister also, repeatedly said that rail, it's not built for, travelers. It's for haulage purposes. And it's, from there you make your profits, to be able to repay your debts. So are you looking at the components of this, rail transport system that will make it more profitable? For instance, you talked about the Bonny Deep Sea Port, and probably tariffs, fees. You look at the other end, that leads to the agricultural, markets. People coming from the hinterland, joining the rail. Are you looking at these components, how these components will be made feasible to enhance the profitability of...
This is given, absolutely given. You know why? Because it takes about 380,000 naira to move goods from Port Harcourt to, in a 911 trailer to Otubo. Just 380,000 from Port Harcourt to Otubo. And then from Aba to Otubo, you are paying about 350,000 naira.
By road?
By road. Just the trailer. Now, think of when there is this rail. I am sure that, the volume of goods, how many trailer loads of goods that a rail coach alone would pick. And that crashes the cost
of transportation,
of goods. And the timely delivery of those goods. Because some of the time, sometimes you move goods from Port Harcourt to Otubo. I'm not talking about Maiduguri now. You will spend about 5 days, 6 days before you get the goods. Where are we? So, again, is the aspect of guaranteeing the safety of those goods. Most times our goods are preferred along the track by road.
That's the issue of security.
And again, the volume of, the corruption that pills on the road will also reduce. I think that whatever the government would do to ensure that this comes to this comes into place.
Yes.
into place. I think they need to do this effectively. We are talking about agricultural commodities. We've also not talked about raw materials. I mean, solid minerals that will be coming in from all of these places, both for export and for industrial raw material use.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ken. We'll return to you in the course of the conversation, as always. Honorable Minister, let's talk about the quality of job being done. What is the guarantee that the quality of job being done can last or can, of course, pass the test of time? I'm asking this because we will not know actually the number of years that could be guaranteed that the project being done could last. Because what happened when Nigerian Railway Corporation went moribund was that the entire line was dilapidated. Some of them are no longer fit for use and what have you. And some said, look, that they have already expired and what have you. So we want to get an information concerning the nature or the kind of quality of work being done, either in the standard gauge or the narrow gauge, and the possibility of these rail lines lasting for a longer time.
Okay. The way to answer response to that question is to say, is there anything wrong with Kaduna Abuja? We commissioned it 2016, still as if it was brand new. I think we are not, the way the president, and I like the fact that the president emphasizes it at the cabinet, the company, the supervising engineers are Italians, and the Team Nigeria Limited, and they don't joke about standards. Not even standard of work. You can't be careless about what you're doing and all that. And then the quality of work. I remember one day I was inspecting, and we got to a station, and there was not near fracas between them and the contractors. And I came and I said, what's the problem? We told them they cannot use this. This looks like sawdust. We need them to use stone, and they refuse. As the clients, contractor, take away this, suspend work until you obey them. And they had to obey them. So we don't joke about standard. Nobody jokes about standard. Not even are we allowing the Chinese and other contractors, now there are new contractors from Europe. Motor Engil is Europe. The company that will construct Lagos Calabar with CCCC is Turkey. We are going to make sure that the standards are maintained. And now there's competition. So there's a European company, there's a Turkish company, and there is a Chinese company. It's not like before when the Chinese dominated the entire rail system. So there's competition now.
Is there any local content?
Of course. Of course. The agreement we signed with them, which was introduced by me, is that you can just get away. Nigerians will have to be part of it. You can't cut away $1.95 billion to Europe. If we can keep the $95 million here in the hands of Nigerians, it will be better. The same we have adopted with CCCC. You can't take away $5.3 billion back to China. You must leave some in the hands of Nigerians. So there is local content. There is also the content that introduces you to the technology, so you understudy them. That's why we're also introducing universities for training of Nigerian engineers. Currently, some of them are being trained in China, but we want also that some of them be trained. Now, we're also localizing, because we are referring to quality, we're also localizing the manufacturing, the fabrication of locomotives, coaches, wagons, and other rolling stock in Kajula. We're building the factory. Also PPP. We're getting the Chinese to build the factory as their own contribution to the development of Nigeria. So when it comes to standard, we will not be joking. Now let's look at, I want to come a bit on what he said about cost. You know, I didn't even do the calculation until Nigerians began to praise us for it. They say from Benin or Warri to Lagos to Abuja by road is about 20-something thousand naira. From the same Benin or Warri to Abuja by air is 60,000 naira. But by rail is 6,000 naira. 2,500 to Itabe. That's where our rail stops. Then you pick up a taxi from Itabe to Abuja, 3,500. So you spend 6,000 naira. Imagine the difference between 6,000 naira and 20,000 naira, or difference between 6,000 naira and 60,000 naira. That's what the rail provides for you.
It's because of the bad roads of the bad roads, Honourable Minister. But let's look at. I still like to look at.
No, but even if there were no bad roads, there's no way the road transportation would be cheaper than the rail transportation because it's subsidized by the government.
But okay, I'd like to look at the connecting infrastructure, what I would call the feeders, because if we look at the Eastern Rail Corridor, the states it traverses are mostly densely populated and all that, and people that will feed or utilize the rail system are probably, like you mentioned, in Newi. I don't know if the rail is going to pass through in Newi. The people that will use this rail are far away in Newi, transporting whatever cargo they have will have to pass through a transport infrastructure, which is not available. Is the minister also looking at that? Because if you don't have those in place, then the rail will have...
I'm praying I had not accused you that you're thinking from your home state.
Yeah, yes, I have to.
But that's
because
wrong.
The women who...
That's wrong. If your argument about Newi is that there's heavy manufacturing going on at Newi, you are completely correct that we should feed Newi into the transportation system. But you can't take rail to everywhere they have manufacturing. You can't. It's expensive. If all the money we are using to do rail, if we take 1/3 or 1/4 or even half of it, we will finish all the roads in Nigeria. $1.95 billion. Just add about $500 million add $500 million. You're talking about 1 trillion naira. 1 trillion naira. That you will use to do so many roads in Nigeria. So we can't be taking railway to everybody, every chief, every place. So, but that's one. Two is that the Lagos-Calabar rail terminates at Onitsha. How many kilometers from Onitsha to Newi? The person can move his goods by what's it called? By road to Onitsha until when the government is rich enough. I asked this question when we were buoyant, when oil was being sold at 114, 110. What did we do? Because at that point you could take rail from Onitsha to Newi because Newi is critical. Newi is where we're having manufacturing. Now, the rail going to Oka, the standard gauge, actually, in our design of the standard gauge, it goes through Owerri to Newi, to Oka, and then crosses over at Enugu to Abakaliki. That's standard gauge. But for now that we are doing a reconstruction of the narrow gauge, the best we can do is to we are getting to Oka. I'm sure Oka is close to Newi. We are getting to Abakaliki. We are getting to Enugu. Now, when we start constructing the Lagos-Calabar, we'll get to Onitsha. So even if we don't get to Newi, the Newi transporter will just pay a little cost by road to get to either Onitsha or get to either Oka, whichever is closer to him. We will certainly not take railway to everybody's kitchen. We don't have the money.
I also think, I think this is where we also need to be a bit, think a bit out of the box. Now, what is the role of the state governments in all of this? And I think that, if the federal government, I am from the East, and we're talking about Newi, and there's a case there.
No, it's a strong case.
Very strong one. But I also think that whoever is going to be a governor there, and whoever is going to be the people who are going to be the State House of Assembly members there, should also begin to think ahead. So say, okay, if this rail stops at Onitsha, can we drop some funds and have a collaboration with the federal government to link this? And it makes sense. And you shouldn't leave everything on the shoulder of federal government. Let federal government do whatever they can do now. And this is the reason why we made local governments become useless. today. Gradually, the states are also becoming a bit...
It's a valid point you raised, but look at, let me just take an example from the UBEC fund. We just talked about it, Kiri and I. There's funding. UBEC funding is lined up, but states have not accessed it. It's there. So what makes you think that if the federal government doesn't, I don't know, do something, the state governments will do it?
Claire.
It takes pragmatism.
They will not.
You're wrong. Kano state government is doing intra-state railway.
Look at that.
They've gotten approval. They are pursuing their loan facility in China. Kaduna state government is also doing something, even though they are doing feasibility studies and all that, to get their own facility to do their intrastate railway. Lagos state government is already constructing. You don't just have to wait. As governor, I was constructing
monorail.
Monorail. You just don't. You see, I'm no longer a governor. I don't want to. I don't like to discuss.
What Claire was trying to say, Honourable Minister, is the fact that when federal government establishes a policy, for instance,
you can buy into it.
It takes time to cascade down to the states.
How?
Because the states may not be interested in that policy.
Why wouldn't the state be interested?
Now, Dr.
I mean, that's the reality.
Yes, Dr. Koha is trying to say that Nnewi, as a production hub, in fact, in the entire West Africa, when it comes to manufacturing, Nnewi is number one in terms of manufacturing.
Industrial.
Right, industrial.
Why I don't want to talk about that is that we are known to banter figures that we have not done research on. That when you pull out the data must be correct. I have told you here that Nnewi, ordinarily, that's why I had a choice to make. The choice I had to make was, when it came to standard gauge, was, okay, get from Port Harcourt to where and stop. And then continue from Aba straight on to Umuahia, to Enugu, then connect Enugu to Oka, and connect to Abakaliki. But I made a choice. And I said, no. Instead of taking that route in which we will connect Oka and Enugu and the Abakaliki from Enugu, let's connect them from Owerri. Because I wanted them to pass through Nnewi. Because from Owerri, you appear at Nnewi and cross to Oka and then cross at Enugu point to Abakaliki. That's for the standard gauge. At any point in time, any government wants to construct the eastern flank standard gauge. All the feasibility studies have been done. We are doing designs and all that is available. But the point he made is accentuated by the fact that poorer states too are doing a similar thing, and the low facility is available. Just like we are going into the market, you can get approval of the federal government to go into the low market to do your own rail. So if, for instance, the federal government has not been able to construct a rail line to Nnewi, you can go to the loan market because Nnewi is critical. It will create employment. Once you facilitate movement of their finished products out of the country or to other parts of the country. For instance, what's this Innocent? I think it's Nnewi.
Nnewi.
Now, if you take a rail line to Nnewi, it eases his movement of vehicles. Because all he will do to those vehicles is put it on a wagon, and it's either in Lagos, because they are all, our rail lines are interconnected. The standard Lagos Calabar, we meet the Warri Etabe at Abo. They will meet. They will pass each other at that point. The Port Harcourt Maiduguri, we interface with the Western Line at Kafanchan. So they are not. We're not doing different rail lines going to different places. We are connecting the country so that you can go to any part of the country you want to go. But the point is, if I were to be the governor of Anambra, I agree that Anambra doesn't have money, but you can borrow. Mm-hmm. So if I were him, how many kilometers from Nnewi to Oka, or how many kilometers from Nnewi to Onitsha? So I better look for that fund and ensure that I put this rail line up to Nnewi, because that will create for me employment. Once there is employment, the spiral effect that the insecurity will reduce. Because like I said when I was a governor, if all of us were working in shares, there will be no time for anybody to go and steal.
All right, Minister.
Sorry, before you bring our guest from Anambra State, I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister if the rail network system, the rail network that we're constructing now, the Lagos, Ibadan, Lagos, Kano, Maradi, Port Harcourt, Maiduguri, in 3 years' time, would we be able to have a railway system, operational railway system, that will make road transport unattractive?
Of course. The only places that will be left out, and we're working hard to connect them, will be Kebbi, Zamfara, Akure. In fact, we're going to connect Ondo now from the Lagos Calabar. So you have Kebbi, Zamfara, Adamawa, Jigawa is connected. Sokoto. There are two more. There's one more state. But if you add Ondo 5, then there was one more of the northern states that makes it 6. And the president has given a directive, we should do the feasibility study, see how to connect them to the national network, so that the entire country is connected. But currently, as we have it, all of them, you can sit in Port Harcourt and say, okay, I'm going to go to Kano Maradi, I'm going to go to Maradi tomorrow. So you start from Port Harcourt, you get to Kamfachan, you join the train going to Kaduna. The train is narrow gauge. When it gets into Kaduna, they change a bogie and do transshipment. You join the standard gauge that goes to Kano. You get to Kano, you come down, you join the train going to Maradi. You can do that in a day. That's why those of you who criticize the government must also look how hard.
We will play this soundbite.
No need,
2 years' time.
No need to play. No, I say no need to play. Because the contracts have been awarded. The loan is what we are seeking for now. We've gotten the loan of $1.95 billion for Kano Maradi. So they should be able to start work. They are doing finishing documentations and all that. So I've gotten approval from the federal government. They should start construction. When we go to the federal government to ask for approval, because we're also negotiating other loans, and we get the loan for Lagos Calabar, you will not need to stop the job because, and one good thing about the loan, unlike the former loans we used to take, previously, the loans we used to take is paid to the federal government coffers. And anything could happen to that kind of money. Maybe the Minister for Transport is the thief, so I take the money, for part of the money home. Now, the Minister for Transport does not see the money. What he sees is what? Paper. The money is offshore. So once I sign, yes, he has done from Kano to Kaduna, they pay him offshore. So you can't say, oh, the contract, when this government goes, the contract cannot be completed. It will be completed because all documentations are internationalized. They're not local contracts.
Well, I think that this is confidence. That was my worry earlier. That was my worry earlier.
You should wake up and praise the federal government. You should wake up and praise the government of President Buhari.
It's really interesting.
I hope this is so, honestly.
Don't say this is true. We have done Lagos Ibadan. Yes. We don't see the money. I've told you several times. Yes. The money is located with China Exim Bank for the Chinese loans. The European loans are there in Europe. In fact, let me tell you what worsens the matter. Standard. We're repeating now. That's what's delaying all these our projects that we've not started. The European countries are insisting that we should repeat ESIA. And ESIA are to be done by contractors from Europe because they want international standard. They are also saying that procurement...
That's environmental impact assessment.
Yes. They're also saying that local procurement for the companies. That's we finish our procurement. But if the company wants a local contractor, instead of you to say, Claire, come and supply me kerosene, you must do a procurement process. So you must open the opportunity to several persons and then choose one person. Those are international standards, and the money is with them. So they can't pay until those standards are maintained.
You know what we see?
All right.
Claire, you know what we see?
Let's bring in Don.
Yes, I know you're going to bring in Don. I want to respond to...
He has been there. So let
her respond.
Sorry. Don Adinuba, Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, Anambra State. He's joining us via Zoom.
Exactly.
This is an Igbo thing.
I am sure you have been listening to the conversation.
And they're purely Anambra and Imo State.
Yeah, you're listening to the conversation in the studio here. We've been having with the Honorable Minister of Transportation and, of course, Dr. Ken Ukoha, the President of the National Association of Nigerian Traders. Now, as it were, the Maiduguri Port Harcourt, rail construction has a link to Awka, which is the capital of Anambra State. And this conversation...
There's no link here until the president approves. I say I will approach the president.
Okay. But I want to get your take on the entire development, because as it were, Awka will surely be linked. Because if the Honourable Minister is assuring that when the president approves, that it's going to be a reality. What is your take on this latest development?
Well, thank you. I'm sorry I got a bit late. And secondly, the network has not been wonderful at my own end. So I apologize for that. But we are absolutely delighted. You recognize that by the time the railway services were working very effectively in Nigeria, there were only 3 towns in today's southeastern states that had railway stations, namely Aba, Umuahia, and Enugu. But what is going on today, all 5 states, we enjoy the railway network service, and this is absolutely marvelous. For the first time in the history of what is today called Anambra State, will be connected to the national network service, and this is absolutely delighted. You will recognize that Anambra State is actually the hub of transportation in at least the eastern part of the country, as well as the south, what is today called the south side. You can go to anywhere in Nigeria from Onitsha. That is as far as the road transportation is the case. But the railway, if you choose, we've been absolutely vigilant. With what is going on now is going to be a new dawn, and we welcome it a great deal. The former governor of the central bank, Professor Charles Soludo, made a point I think would be necessary to repeat here. We are now being connected by bridge from Onitsha to Asaba. We can actually think of having light rail connected to the bridge, so we can have maximum economic value from the bridge, which the current administration is building and is done with so much commitment and integrity, and we are very appreciative.
Okay, earlier, go ahead.
Things are changing.
Yes,
before, the criticism by you people against those of us who are in government appear to be that, oh, we are doing nothing to assist the eastern Nigeria. And at that point, there was a construction of the second Niger bridge. Started and will be finished by us. It will be finished next year. Now we are doing a rail all over the whole of southeast harbor.
No, it's a heavy development.
To be frank with you.
If I wasn't a Catholic, I would say, give me a wife.
I think those kind of, if you like, provocations were also the triggers to some of
No, it's not true. It's not true.
You know, I like
the president.
Frankly,
you know, I like the president. Yes, as a president, he should respond to criticisms, but constructive criticism.
And there we are.
Let's take it in the transportation, for instance. But that's where he was critical, the railway. Oh, you're not constructing railway in the south. You're not constructing railway in the southeast. You're all over the country. So, is the northeast not part of the north? So why do you say it's discrimination? Is south-south not part of the north? Why was the criticism more in the southeast than anywhere else? The reason why we are not constructing at that point in time is that it takes, well, if today I wake up, Amechi, John, come and construct railway in the southeast, without transparency, without the process, what will you say? Corruption. Amechi has taken away all the money. And nobody will give you money in the international community. You must pass through a process that when you go to dump the request with the international community, they will check how the contractor was chosen. They will check whether you... I just told you here now that the Europeans, why the Chinese agree with our ESIA, the Europeans are saying, no, we want... Is it IFC standard or what they say? And that IFC standard can only be met if we get an European environmental company. Fine. But you see, I warned in the case of Port Harcourt. I say, if in 3 months now, we don't start construction, one man in Port Harcourt will say, oh, we told this politics. We told this politics. No way. You must... And one good thing about the president, I hope I copy it before I leave office. He doesn't work under pressure. You can shout as much as you want. The president is focused on what he wants to do, and he will do it at the right time. So all that criticism people are making did not influence the choice we made. It didn't. In fact, what influenced the choice is more economic than political statements that were being made. Important. In fact, I hear that the senator said, oh, he moved the motion in the National Assembly. That's why we started. How? No. In fact, when Abaribe summoned me to the National Assembly and said to me, oh, we don't want to do the Southeast, I said, Abaribe, are you more Igbo than me? My name is Amechi. You can say Amechi. Amechi is who knows tomorrow. Abaribe, please tell me what's the meaning of Abaribe in Igbo. So it's yeah, tell me, because no Igbo man has ever told me the meaning of Abaribe. I've been asking. No, you tell me. So I'm more Igbo. I will tell you. I'm more Igbo than Abaribe.
All right,
yeah, but frankly speaking, I think this is an area that
we are going to have a short break.
Government need to improve communications and information.
What communication? I had spoken and I was tired of
Let's have a short break.
I had even said that I'm even Igbo. Why should I let
Let's have a short break. The most important thing is that the current administration is working in the southeast of Nigeria. The second Niger bridge was promised by the late Shagari in 1982, and many other heads of state or presidents also promised to do that second Niger bridge. Today it is being constructed. All right, they're talking about railway now. So I think the government is working in the southeast of Nigeria.
Nobody's saying
I can go to Enugu with my wife.
And we appreciate that a great deal. All right, let's take a short break. We will come back very shortly, and the conversation will continue.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth entrepreneurship support, yes, by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria, pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
The second wave of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic is upon us.
To safeguard lives of our people, government has signed the health protection regulations, which makes wearing a face mask mandatory in public places.
Wear a mask. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Wash your hands regularly with soap and clean water. And use hand sanitizer.
COVID-19 is real. Do not be infected. Do not spread it. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Chelsea look to continue their amazing run of 12 games unbeaten when they travel to Ellen Road. Will they succeed or will the streak come to an end? Find out as Leeds United welcome Chelsea this Saturday on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 1 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Axis Bank, Babai Jebu, Lipton, and Close Up in association with Gold.com.
All right, welcome back. We are having a conversation on the groundbreaking of the Eastern Rail Corridor, which will run from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, of course, traversing 5 eastern states. And it has received general commendation. The federal government has received general commendation for this. We have the Commissioner for Information, Anambra State, joining us via Zoom, Mr. Adindo. I'd just like to say to you, yes, you have commended this initiative by the Buhari administration. What will the Anambra State government, or how will the Anambra State government complement this effort?
Well, I don't know if it's necessary for me to reveal this, but I know in the last couple of years, the Southeastern governors have been working on having a common rail project. The details are still being worked out. Maybe I will have to wait until the details are out. This project was conceived before the Southeastern states were included in the current National Railway Network Expansion Program. So maybe we have to recalibrate our plans in the light of the new reality, which is absolutely commendable. All over the world, the mass transport system is the railway, not the roads, not the buses. So for the federal government to realize that it's the right thing to do, especially in a nation of some 200 million people, and the population is growing annually at the rate of 2.4 to 2.7%, it is the right thing to do. If all the other governments preceding this had taken concrete steps like this, but including the whole country, not just from Abuja to Kaduna, although you may say it was experimental, this country would have been far better than it is today. So we recognize the criticality of mass transportation in a very large country with a very large population like our own. This is the right way to step into the 21st century. And this is something we recognize and we appreciate. And the Southeastern states, not just Anambra State, we enter into important discussions with the federal authorities to see how we can harmonize our programs. So there will be plenty of employment and business opportunities for us. By the time you have a proper railway network, the pressure on roads will be less. Today, if you build a road in the next 3, 4, 5 years, it starts to wear because of the pressure on the roads by heavy trucks, trailers, carrying all manner of things. So what is going on right now is the right way to go. We appreciate it, and we are determined to create a proper and solid economic base for the whole of the Southeast, beginning with the Anambra State, with the flagship of Nigeria. Before I stop, there is a little correction I would like to make. On one of the WhatsApp map I saw there, someone stated that all states receive the bailout funds from the federal administration. The bailout funds were wonderful. They came at a critical moment. But I would like to say that Anambra did not benefit because Anambra did not apply. Anambra did not apply because Anambra had absolutely no reason to apply. Our resources, limited as they are, we are not oil bearing, and therefore we don't receive benefit from being an oil bearing state. But our resources are well managed, and everybody testified to that fact. We've been able to carry out a lot of projects without asking for the assistance of the federal government. That's the point I would like us to correct.
You did say that Anambra is the commercial hub in the Southeast, and there was no, there's no doubt about that. Nnewi, for instance, is a very big manufacturing, area. What or how does the state government hope to, work on your road network, which is not particularly attractive?
Well, when it comes to road network, we are passionate about that. We are proud to say that Anambra has the best road network of all the states in the federation. This is an established fact. I don't think anybody can contradict it. We are conscious of the fact that our people, our indigenous, run most of the bus networks you find going all parts of Nigeria. Most of the headquarters is in Onitsha. So we cannot drive the economy of Anambra State if the road infrastructure, the transportation infrastructure, is not better than what we have in most other states of the federation. And various governments of the state have lived up to this expectation, not just the current administration. But there are limitations to what we can do with road transportation. That is why railway is critical, and that's why we welcome what is going on now. To rejuvenate the economy, to make our state and rest of the Southeast step into the 21st century, and in fact the whole country. The development of the rail network is a desideration. It is the way to go. It is unavoidable, and we are proud to work with the federal government to develop the rail network. Our state government has been operating with the federal government to do this. I'm sure the minister will testify that our relationship with the federal government remains the best example of what we call cooperative federalism. We recognize that Anambra State is an Abuja state, and we recognize that the federal government is an APC administration. Yet, once the election is over, we forget the past, we come together for the benefit of our own people, and I think Anambra State has done perhaps better than any other state in this context. We only disagree during elections. After that, it's all over. And we like that relationship, that kind of symbiotic relationship. And we would like other states of the federation to learn from us. Anambra, don't forget, Anambra is the light of the nation. And may I also reveal to you that the wife of the Honorable Minister of Transportation is from Anambra State.
He said it's from...
The minister, I'm sure you are proud of your wife,
Don.
Love of my life. I can't say I'm proud of my wife.
Don, you have spoken so well. We appreciate that. But the question that Claire actually put across to you is the fact that we recognize Nnewi as a manufacturing hub in West Africa, if you like, and that the road leading from Nnewi to other parts of Anambra State are not necessarily in good condition. And we are saying that now that the rail is coming to Onitsha, whether the government of Anambra State has any plans to see how Nnewi can also be connected by rail from Onitsha, to ensure that perhaps the manufacturers in Nnewi can have easy access to rail line in trying to transport their products outside the state.
Nnewi is arguably the capital of indigenous technology in Nigeria. We are the home of Innocent Motors, which the federal government has been supporting. We are very grateful for that. Yet the roads to Nnewi are actually far better than before. They are much improved. And I must also acknowledge that the federal administration, the current federal administration, has actually fixed some of the roads. So between Oba, near Onitsha, and in Nnewi. So there has been a considerable improvement in the road network in Nnewi, but this can be better. I did say at the beginning that the Southeastern governments have been working on a plan on railway development, which I don't want to discuss at length at this point because the details have not been worked out. But now the federal government is taking the initiative, then we can work first as a state government, secondly as a regional group by thinking how to link Nnewi with Aba. Aba is another important place in respect of not just commerce, but development of indigenous technology. and that is already linked railway-wise to Port Harcourt. So this is still something at the embryonic stage. The details I would like to make public when they are fully developed. At this point, I don't want to overstate the facts.
Very much once again for reaching us from Anambra State. Now we have tweets here coming from Nigerians who are also watching this program and trying to make their own contributions. Claire, we'll begin with Evera, who says that it's a massive project. This will not only promote economic activities, but will equally ease transportation from southern to eastern parts of Nigeria. My concern is projects of this magnitude take a number of years to be completed.
Festus Akimboyenwa, the Eastern Rail Corridor will be a critical national asset, but it may face years of delay because the cost is mind-boggling. However, it has the prospect of creating thousands of direct and indirect jobs and will reduce the heavy use of our highways and airports.
Now, Greg says it's a welcome development, but the completion period is not stated. As the Kano Maradi line, why also are rail infrastructure always constructed at very high cost? Example, Kano Maradi line was 100% higher than Africa Union estimate. We need more prudence and the cost cutting.
Well, just to say that the minister earlier clarified the completion stage of the Eastern Rail Corridor. Of course, we asked him the question, and he said it will be completed in 3 years. It has a 3-year completion time. That's to Greg Kuje. Dele Jack Solomon, Port Harcourt Maiduguri Railway contract has the objective of resuscitating the once vibrant railway transportation in the Eastern Corridor that will directly impact the economy and Nigerians positively. However, knowing how we will repay the debt is important.
Chris Simeon, the Eastern Rail Corridor is a welcome development. If the project is completed, it will boost socio-economic development of the entire country and even our neighboring countries like Cameroon, Chad, and Niger.
Gwedemosi Haruna Damo, I hope and pray that the government will speed up the projects in spite of the cost. If fully accomplished, it will create job opportunities for the people, generate revenue to government, and reduce pressure on the other means of transportation.
Oladimeji, the project should be monitored to give good result. Hope it is not just a paperwork.
Ahmed Mohammed Garkida, this is a massive project. Indeed, it not only promotes economic activity, but will also ease transportation from southern to eastern parts of the country. Kudos to the President.
Festus Akimbe, while the economic and social effects of Eastern Rail Corridor are difficult to predict, there's no doubt that it will have a positive impact on the Nigerian economy, the regional economy, transport, and employment, but the cost is huge.
Mike Ayako, please, I would like to know if this Eastern Rail Corridor passes major Igbo towns. He says, Aba, Umuahia, Owerri, Onitsha, Enugu, and so on and so forth. Honorable Minister, I'd like for him to hear it from your mouth.
No, don't you know the passes. The other places that it shouldn't add there is Onitsha. It doesn't pass through Onitsha. What passes through Onitsha is the standard gauge line from Lagos to Calabar.
Okay.
All right, Olajide Balogun, fantastic projects. This from the Bonny Seaport end all the way to Trade Survey, southeastern towns and agricultural belt of north central region with 61 stations along the way, terminating at Maiduguri.
Okay, I'll just skip these other ones and go to Oti Zokpea. Zokpea. It says, does Minister Rotimi sleep at all? His performance keeps echoing on a global scale for his good work with rail. I am happy to return home soon because I can now use train from Warri to my village in Ishan. Please tell the minister I and my family thank him.
All right, let me just take this one from Solomon Agoha. He said, the Minister of Transport should visit the railways in the Eastern Corridor. Most of the rail lines are still good and intact. Granted that there are cases of vandalism, the rails from Umuahia to Enugu and even beyond are still in good condition.
Okay, finally, I think this is another one. Bello Mohammed. The revival of our Eastern Rail Corridor is long overdue. We must make use of what we have and avoid wasting our resources and infrastructure. Standard or narrow gauge rail transportation, so long as our goals are achieved, are steps in the right direction. We must remove sentiments in our development efforts, otherwise we will always be on the drawing board. And other nations will continue to be far away, making ourselves dependent on them.
That's something I'd like the minister to talk about here. That's the issue of the coaches. How do you acquire them? And what standard of coaches do you acquire? Because, of course, we know that there are modern ones and there are...
You're turning me to an engineer. Okay, well, I don't know about what my standard of coaches. Coaches are coaches. What is the difference is the locomotive. So there will be DMU. In fact, Nigeria has made us to start buying DMUs. When you see, these are not intrastate locomotives. When you do interstate locomotives, then Nigerians don't know that some Nigerians don't know that locomotive just means the engine of a train. They think locomotive is the ancient 18-something that was using coal. Now, the locomotive that goes interstate looks slightly ugly. Now, the ones that go intrastate, because it does not, the speed is reduced, right? The aerodynamics is different. The dynamics is completely different in nature. So what we do now is we buy DMU, which is the diesel motoring unit. We buy it just for it to look beautiful. In fact, we've even told the people constructing our locomotives, they should now cover it instead of leaving the way other countries are, so I can look beautiful, acquiring more cost. But I want to approach the president so that we can start the process of procurement for the locomotives and coaches, because it also takes 1 to 2 years for them to finish fabricating and constructing the locomotives and coaches. We'll do that this month.
Okay, I was going to ask you, what are the geographical challenges, on this axis, this rail corridor? Like the Lagos-Ibadan, you had to deal with a lot of, issues with those who have trespassed the axis. But that's not the case with Kano Maradi.
Yes, Kano Maradi is a virgin land. So yes, you just start from the bush and off you go. There will be minimal compensation. Now, I don't pay, and I will not support the payment of compensation for those who have encroached on our land. No. And it will be prominent in the Eastern line, because it's an old line. So when you go from Port Harcourt to Aba, all those who have built things, turned it into, it's their business. I will just put Caterpillar there and bring it down. I'm not going to joke about that, because I don't know whether you thought that this country would no longer be a country, or even if it's going to be a country, it will no longer use rail. The reason why Nigerian Railway Corporation acquire more land when they are building rail is because of the future. Just like now, I've directed them to buy 100 meters off the rail line and acquire it, so that in future, you don't begin to pay more money trying to pay for compensation for rail construction. Now, for the Eastern line, you see that, take my one for instance. No train can pass there any longer, because they've almost forced their houses,
that's
their
my
stores.
One in Port Harcourt.
Yes. And it's not just my one. It goes up to Aba. It goes up to Enugu.
Yes.
It goes. So what we do is, and I like the federal government, we have a Nigerian Police Command Railway. We just ask them to go and listen, and we just take Caterpillar and bring it down. Are we going to inform them? We'll give them 7 days notice to quit, so that we can do that, and it'll be very, very soon. Because you see, like I told you, you will not say, "Oh, Minister for Transport and the President will give you extra 1 year because COVID stopped you from doing your work."
But these are structures that have come up,
Why are you sentimental?
No, I'm not sentimental.
You are because
the rail system has been abandoned.
I'm talking about law. Whether it's moribund or not, you have no right to go into my land.
That's the point.
So if I come to your husband's house now, will you be happy? Exactly. So you know that this land doesn't belong to you. You know that it belongs to the federal government. You go and build your listing. All I will do is hire or get the company, since they have the earth-moving equipment, to move it. Maybe if you don't like the fact that we'll bring it down, we'll shift it to your house. We just excavate it and shift it to your land.
Yeah, but Honorable Minister, I think maybe the starting point should be a kind of having an audit of all of this.
All that is being done.
Okay, very good.
All that has been done.
If that is done, so that people will also know that, there is nothing that anybody, there's no witch hunting over anything. Because if anybody leaves his place and then comes into what belongs to it, it's clear trespass.
It is all over the place.
We did it in Lagos. That's not about bracket of trespass. We did it in Lagos. All those who encroach into our this in Lagos, we just brought it down.
Even traders have taken over the rail lines in Enugu and elsewhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Lagos,
we will chase them
it's
out.
because it's been abandoned for a very long time. But as you rightly said, that does not matter.
Exactly.
It does not matter.
Yeah.
When you want to reclaim your land, you go ahead and reclaim your land. That's what is important here. So, gentlemen, we would like to appreciate you for being here this morning. It's been a wonderful conversation on this very, very important topic this morning. We know we started by congratulating the Honorable Minister of Transportation for after being criticized by a number of people that the Eastern, like he also said that it was not because of the criticism, it has been on the pipeline and it's now time to implement it. So at this point, I'd like to thank you, Honorable Minister for Transportation, for being here this morning. Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi, it's been a pleasure having you this morning. Dr. Ken Ukoha, President, National Association of Nigerian Traders. Thank you also for being here this morning.
Thank you so much.
Now, Don Adenuba, Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, Anambra State, reached us from via Zoom from Anambra State. It's been a pleasure also talking to you this morning.
Thank you very much, Kirin.
Yeah. All right, now let's take some sports news.
Following the cancellation of the Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations AFCON, the Football Association of Zambia, FAZ, has made it clear it is ready to host the tournament. In a letter signed by FAZ General Secretary Adrian Kashala dated March 10th, FAZ has requested CAF to give it chance to host the competition. The Emergence Committee of the Confederation of African Football, CAF, on March 8th cancelled the tournament that was slated to take place in Morocco between March 13th to 31st. Some of the teams, including Zambia, had already arrived in Morocco. In tennis, Roger Federer lost his second match since returning from a 14-month injury layoff, going out to Nicolas Basilashvili in the quarterfinals of the Qatar Open. The 20-time Grand Slam winner was overcome by Georgia's Basilashvili 3-6, 6-1, 7-5 in Doha. Federer had beaten Britain's Dan Evans on his return to action on Wednesday to reach the last 8. Basilashvili saved the match point before going on to beat the Swiss 39-year-old. Federer in competitive action for the first time since January 2020 after 2 knee surgeries said playing 2 matches in 2 days was a good stepping stone in his recovery.
There it is.
Game, set, match.
A big backhand and a big win for Basilashvili.
3-6, 6-1, 7-5.
A painful few months. Well, I said earlier in the match, you never quite know when you're going to be...
All right, and that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. We thank you very much. To join us again on Monday for another interesting edition. I am Claire Adilabu Abdul Razak. For me and the rest of the production crew, have a great weekend.
And I'm Kirin Umayo. Goodbye.